Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Miner. This weekly no-fluff mindset show arms you with the practical tools you need to get unstuck so you can get exactly what you want out of life. Remember, when you change your mind, your life will follow. Let's get into today's episode. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Unstuck Podcast. Thank you for being here. I'm Sean, your host, and today I am joined by a very, very special guest, one of my dear friends, Stephanie Dodier. Stephanie and I actually met, probably 3-4 years ago through the keto world, the keto space. However, she very much teaches a non-diet approach, intuitive eating, but she was in that world kind of teaching a little bit more about being more intuitive with your food and body image and acceptance and that kind of stuff. And we met through kind of the speaking engagements that we both were doing in the keto space, and quickly became friends, became internet friends, chatting back and forth through social media, and then turned travel buddies for a while. We've met in different countries. We've traveled to different countries together. And now she's a dear, dear friend of mine. And she agreed to come on to the Unstuck Podcast today. Gosh, what an amazing chat we had. You guys are just going to be blown away on so many levels. This is a must listen for any of you who have ever been on a diet, felt any sort of shame around your body or the food you're eating or your weight, or just not feeling good enough when it comes to how you look, how you eat. And we go way, way, way deep into why that is the case, where it all comes from, and how we can start digging ourselves out to be truly free and accepting and in our own power. This is such an amazing conversation. Make sure you send both Steph and I a message of what you thought of the show. You can find me at Sean Miner on Instagram, of course, and Stephanie at Steph Dodier on Instagram. Let us know, tag us in what you're listening to, how you're listening to this episode, but also send us a DM and let us know what you thought. Okay, let me quickly introduce Stephanie, and then we will get into the chat. Stephanie Dodier is a clinical nutritionist, intuitive eating expert, and the host of the Going Beyond the Food Show, which is a top-rated wellness podcast. Her unique approach to health and eating is strongly influenced by her own journey with weight loss, food, and body image struggles. She has created the Going Beyond the Food method and the Conquer and Thrive community to help other women conquer their dieting behavior and body image issues so that they can thrive in confidence and freedom and peace and power. All right, let's hear from Stephanie Dodier. My girl, Steph, thank you so much for coming on the Unstuck Podcast today.
I'm excited to be here and catching up with you.
I know, it's so fun to catch up. I feel like it has been a while. And for those that don't know who are listening, Steph and I go way back. We are great internet friends, but that did turn into real life friends. Yeah, until COVID hit. Yeah, back when we could travel, we did a lot of traveling together, meeting up in different countries and on cruises and things like that. So yeah, we got really close, and now we're really great friends, and we have very similar ideas and philosophies, especially when it comes to dieting and body image and just these things that this crazy diet industry gets us so wrapped up in. So that's who we're really going to be talking to today, are those of you who have gotten involved in that diet industry and believed everything that it had told you in your probably 20, 30, 40 years of trying to be on a diet. And we're going to unravel some of that and talk about the truth. So that's why I invited Steph on this show. Steph, why don't you give us a little bit of intro? Tell us your background and why you're here doing what you do now.
Yeah, so I'm French Canadian. So hello, the accent, that's me. And I am 45 years old. And I say my age because it's going to give you some perspective of where I started. So my first encounter with the diet world was at 12 years old. So close to 33
Long
years
time.
ago,
Hmm.
long time.
Not to make you
And
feel old, but that's a long time.
I don't feel old. That's the
Okay,
thing.
good. Good.
We can talk about why this is, but I'll share. It has a lot to do with the body image work. But anyway, I spent 25 years dieting while having a very successful career in the corporate world until it didn't work no more and my body couldn't take it and I collapsed. And then I went searching for solution for my health. My nervous system was shut down. I was pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, like the whole gamut. And the solution was either pills or this other world that I had no idea was, which was the alternative health world. And I took my gamble into this other option, started to work with a naturopath, and then my world opened up to natural health, which I thought at the time was the solution. And it made me better to certain part of my health. My anxiety was still there. I was still struggling with my behavior around food. And I couldn't understand why what the natural health was offering to me was still not working. And I was still, quote, struggling, both health and around food and around my body image. And then I realized that although there is a ton of good stuff about alternative health and natural health, it is still grounded in fat is bad. You should want to lose weight and you should want to be beautiful. You should want to be healthy. And it's still in that space where I needed to control my food, my health, and I needed to control my body. So, and in the world, and the world, intuition came in and brought into my world health at every size. At first with a book written by Dr. Linda Bacon, at the time her name was. And then it changed my life because it made me realize that the reason why I was still not, quote, feeling my best was because I was still dieting and dieting didn't work. And that was a real epiphany for me because after 25 years of dieting, I realized there was nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was what I was doing that wasn't working, not me. So that sent me down the path of body image work and intuitive eating and health at every size and mindset work. And so here I am today. That's what I do with women. I help them conquer food. I help them conquer their mindset and body image so they can truly be liberated and healthy and enjoy their life now unconditionally.
I love it so much. And I think already people are like, oh, ding, ding, ding. That sounds familiar. I've been in that place, or I am still in that place where I am wanting health and wholeness and wellness, full body, mind, soul. But oh, I am still dieting. I am still worried about the food I put on my plate. I am still thinking about calories and fats and carbs and, all the macros. I'm thinking about all that stuff quite a bit. And I thought that was normal, or that's just how I've been programmed. So I want to go back to, you said you started dieting at 12 because, that's such a really formative part of our lives way back in those years, those early years where we do start creating those thought patterns and we do create those beliefs that then we carry on throughout our lives. And we talk about beliefs and these stories that we create and hold in our subconscious mind a lot here on Unstuck. And I have to imagine that that was the case for you. So you were being fed some information back then when you were 12 that said you have to look a certain way, you need to be on a diet, this is what we do. Tell me a little bit more about what was happening then.
So the message that I got came into, like, when I close my eyes and you say, like, what do you see in your mind? It's a picture of me with my mom standing in the lineup at Weight Watcher and standing up on the scale and having what at the time was a very old lady, which highlight was probably my age, looking at me and shaking her finger saying, you eat too much. You need to drink water instead of eating, chew gum.
Oh my gosh.
You can't trust your body. So the message and the core belief that I was given is that my body was wrong. I was wrong because I'm my body. I'm bad. I'm a bad child, and I don't know how to eat. That's the message. That's the deep core belief, the story that I was fed. And as you say, because at 12 years old, you're still forming your subconscious mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still, as I often say, you're coding your hardware, right? You're coding that software that's going to operate your life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the belief that I was given. And that, for those who know, when you have those subconscious beliefs deeply programmed into you, they operate everything in your life. It's like a pair of glasses you put on every morning, unconsciously. You literally put on those glasses and then you see life through, I'm not good enough, my body is broken, I don't know how to eat, I need other people to tell me what to do, I'm a bad person. So then everything that I did was to counteract those things. So I became a perfectionist. Because if I couldn't be good enough with my body size, with my beauty, and the way that I ate, I was going to try to be good enough in everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I became the best employee in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of money for all my employers because I was the best at what I did. And then it tainted my relationship, and then it tainted my family relationship. It tainted everything because I was operating from a place of not good enough.
And it made you super sick physically.
Oh, well, the
To
thing
the point
is,
that you pass out, right?
oh, well, but that's the thing. Here's a thing about getting older is that you have a bank account of health, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not all born with the same bank account. Like we have a certain amount of money in our saving accounts. I call it the bank account of health. It's based on our parents' history and our own history. Like we have a different amount of money in there. And then every time you use and abuse your body over and above what it should be, you're taking out of the saving account. And at some point you don't have any more. And that's when you collapse or you become sick or you start having all kinds of symptoms. And for me, it was at 37 years old. My body's like, okay, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do this anymore. And then I collapsed.
Jeez, and all of that really can be traced back to
Yes.
to that point in your life, 12 years old. And maybe it was even before then, or obviously a lot more of that spiraled out and into other areas of your life as you continued on throughout being a teenager and in your 20s and your 30s. It's just crazy how that one thing really does affect so many other areas of your life. I want to talk about what you were feeling. So in those, 30, however many years, when you were really focused on dieting, really focused on changing your body, trying to be different than who you were, how did you feel? Like, what were some of those emotions that kept coming up for you as you're trying to basically be different than you are?
First of all, I would say not good enough is the thematic of my life, right? So you can categorize that as low self-esteem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low self-worth, but the common thread for me was not good enough. Everything that I was doing, I was never good enough. Like even the success, like I'll take a part of my career in the corporate world where I started to be the first woman and the youngest person to ever achieve this position and make that much money for the company. Even when I'm there, like in the top 1% of a company that has 50,000 people, I'm still not good enough. I still come home and beat the shit out of me in my head with my thoughts. So, and then shame. Shame was a big thing, right? Everywhere that I went with my body, that I entered a room, that I took a picture, that I engaged with someone, I felt ashamed of who and how I looked. Now, and that is, I want to make sure that everybody understand, that is no matter which weight I was at. That I was at 250 pounds or 150 pounds, I felt the same way. I was just picking on different area of my body. Instead of picking on my belly rolls, I would pick on my loose skin. Like there was always something that I felt ashamed with my body. I would say that those were the two biggest emotion. And as you probably teach your student on your podcast or your listener, our emotion creates our action, right? So if anybody wants to change any behavior pattern or action in their life, you can try working at the action level. It's going to work short term, and then it's going to stop working. What you have to work on is the way you feel. That's why diet don't works, because they work at what I call the A line, the action line of your life. They try to control, change the behavior. It's behavioral based. But if you try to change the behavior while feeling ashamed, it's not going to work. It's going to work for like 7, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it's going to stop working, because you're going to want to have behavior to try to offset the pain you're feeling.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid of our emotions almost, if we use dieting to cover up how we're actually feeling and try to feel a different way and use that as the tool that's going to change our emotions, which never, ever works. But we try to do that, I think. And we're even, I think, taught to do that. That's what the diet industry tells us will happen, is lose 20 pounds and be happy again. And so we're like, oh, cool. That's all I need to do is follow this or drink this shake and lose the 20 pounds. And then my life's going to be totally different. And we buy into that. And that's what they want us to believe. And I know that you have you really don't like the diet industry. Let's just put it that way.
No, but here's the crazy thing for anybody listening that are new to this crazy world of not dieting. But what you described, Sean, is exactly what the weight loss industry sells, which is like $72 billion industry. And it controls most of the media out there. But science knows that it's not working. There's plenty of supporting studies showing that diet don't work. And where we're talking about shame here and body dissatisfaction, there's studies that shows that even though a person may change their body weight, the level of satisfaction doesn't change. Why? Because they still have the damn thoughts that they're not good enough, or they're ugly, or this or that, that drives the feeling of being dissatisfied with their body.
Absolutely. It's like a never ending cycle. And then you go into doing these other things and these other things and these other things to try to achieve something that can't be achieved until you work on those thoughts and the emotions that come from those thoughts, which is what we do here on Unstuck. And that's why I wanted to have you. So let's dive deeper into this idea of shame, because I think that is something that so many of us can relate to, especially around our bodies, and especially around thinking that we have to look a different way to be accepted, or have to have a different body size, a body weight, body shape. We don't like how things currently are. And therefore we become ashamed of how we look or who we are on a day-to-day basis. Where do we go from here? What do we do?
So let's start in understanding shame in itself. So shame is an emotion, and we do know, again, through science, that not all emotion are equal on a spectrum of potentiality, right? How potent the emotions are. Shame is at the core of the, I think it's 6 core emotions that are the most potent for humans. Shame is extremely powerful in changing the way we act. And there is a very good reason for that. Shame has been used in the human evolution to keep people safe, to keep people in the group, in the tribe. And then when humans were trying to get out of the tribe, shame was used as a way of bringing them back in the tribe. And your desire to belong in the tribe, which was back in the days our safety mechanism, right? We could not survive life on the earth without belonging to a tribe. That potency of shame is still present today. That's why, unfortunately, many parenting styles still use shame as a way of getting the right behavior out of children. I'm sure you can see them when you go in public, right? Parents who scream, parents who will tell their kids they're bad children for doing X, Y, and Z, because it will bring the child back into the fold, into the correct behavior. Because shame triggers us to feel in danger. Exactly how it was supposed and designed to be. So when we don't belong into what should be the standard of society, let's talk about body size, right? Current standard of society is the thin ideal, right? This thin woman body. Then shame is used to bring you back into the fold. And that's why diet culture, right, this entire system of belief that controls the weight loss industry, is so effective. Because it uses shame, that very potent emotion, as a way of pushing, most particularly women, back into the correct behavior of wanting to be thin. And for the folks on your podcast who comes from the alternative health, where perhaps they think they're not focused on weight loss, they're focused on being optimally healthy, well, shame is used in the same way. Many of our background, like keto, is very potent at that on social media. Keto activists, keto influencer will use shame as a way of discrediting anybody who doesn't think like them.
Oh, I've seen that.
Because shame is so potent. You know what I'm saying, right?
I know exactly what you're saying. Why do you think I don't talk about it anymore? One of the many reasons, but yes, I talked about that with you when I was in the keto space, how terrible that felt to see other people doing that.
Exactly. So that's the behavior. We shame people who do not do as what we think the tribe should be doing. So diet culture uses shame as a way of controlling women who would perhaps not buy their product, get into the fold, not diet. So that's what we see on social media. So if you follow me or follow people of my philosophy, the non-diet world, you will see body image influencer, right? Body positive influencer who constantly are literally harassed on social media for posting just a picture of their body. People will shame them to death for living their life in their body. Why? Because that's the human reaction. You do not do like me. Come back into the fold and do the way that the vast majority of people are doing, which is trying to lose weight. Even though it doesn't work, doesn't matter. You should be doing like us. And if you don't, we're going to shame you. This is how potent shame is. And I mean, we could go into the field of health. I mean, there's studies upon study of how shame and trauma is at the root cause of most disease. And just take autoimmune condition, which I know is your background, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a ton of study linking trauma and shame to autoimmune condition.
That's interesting that when I developed my first autoimmune disease, I had spent at that point probably 15 years deeply dieting. Like that was all I thought about.
Do you guys talk about chakra here?
We do. Yeah, we have.
Okay.
We've done some work on that. So yeah, go for it if you have something to share there.
So we have 7 chakra. The root chakra, the red chakra at the base of the spine, is where the immune system is located. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's where shame is located as well. When we say that shame is potent, it's basically it affects the base of your energy and radiate through every system you have in your body. Now, this is again non-scientific association, but in my field of health, we can see an association between shame, autoimmune, and all the energy level into the person because it starts at the root, in your root chakra. And it's literally in your gut. You know, when you say like, have you ever been feel ashamed? Do you remember feeling ashamed? And literally like it's deep in your core where you feel it. Can you relate to that?
Yes.
Like, it's like
just even you saying that, you asking that and me thinking of a time when I did feel ashamed. just doing that exercise, you can feel it. And it is like, it's in there. It's deep in there.
It's like deep, right?
Yeah.
Deep, deep, deep within you. That's how powerful shame is. And that's how it affects literally everything. The thing is, we no longer, in today's world, in modern society, need to belong to the tribe. Like, it's no longer a question of survival. We can do what the heck we want and still survive, right? I'll take body image and size of the body. You can be in a fat body and live your life. Nobody's going to come knocking at your door. We don't live in a totalitarian or a dictatorship, knock at your door and beat the shit out of you because you decided not to diet. But we think we do. Because if we don't, we feel ashamed. And it's like coded in our DNA. Shame, go back to the fold. Go back to the behavior that everyone does for your safety. That's how diet culture keeps billions of women dieting, by making them feel ashamed if they don't.
And isn't that so interesting? You know, we talk about beliefs and stories, and that's like a societal belief that that has been pounded into our heads, to the point that then we're shaming others who have decided to live their life and be perfectly happy and healthy and have this wonderful, amazing life in a fat body. And we feel compelled to shame them for that. That is just such proof of how deeply this has been ingrained in us from like a societal perspective, like all of us. And that's scary.
So we shame others, but here's the most potent form of shame is self-shame, where you don't wait for external people to come and shame you. You do it to yourself. That's what we call in the world of body image internalized fat phobia.
Yeah. I mean, I think about the people who are externally shaming others, what they're doing to themselves.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's probably 100 times as bad, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Like,
so it internalized, what do you call it? Internalized
fat phobia, right? We internalize that shame around the size of our body. And then we, quote, beat ourselves up hundreds and thousands of times a day. We don't wait for others. We have these negative thoughts in our brain that are formed from that belief that we're not good enough, right? We hold that belief, and then the narrative in our head feeds that belief to make it become a reality, to manifest it. Right? That's how manifestation work.
Right.
Manifestation work from a core belief. We repeat the narrative, we create emotion, we create action, and then we manifest the results.
Exactly. We
so
talk about that
manifest it. But here's the thing is that people think that's what dieting is about. Shame myself, beat myself up, control myself, and then it's going to result in weight loss. It's going to result in having a normal body. Problem is, the human body doesn't function like that. You can shame yourself, you can control food, but the body has this innate wisdom, this magnificent power to fight back. That's why we go on and off diet, we binge when we restrict. It's because the body will not let itself starve. And it will fight back and get you to gain weight, gain more weight. The more you diet, the more weight you gain, because your body is like, it's being under attack. So the whole model of dieting doesn't work, no matter which angle you look at it, like biology, chemistry, mindset, it doesn't work. But we're still stuck in it.
We just cannot break free. But that's why you're here. That's why we break free,
yes.
Which is great. So then are you saying really the first thing that we have to do to break out of this shame cycle, which is then, perpetuating in so many different areas of our life, we got to really get clear on where it's even coming from, on the fact that it is because it has been ingrained in you from this like tribe perspective, and then you noticing that and actually realizing you have a choice in that.
Yeah, it's realizing that it's a belief system, right? So I've been at this for I don't know, close to four, like call it 4 years officially. And I've helped like thousands of women in different programs working through this. And at the beginning, I thought, let's just teach women intuitive eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went out to the world and put this great program out, and then people were getting great results. They were becoming intuitive eater, and then they were disappearing off the map. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on, right? And then I realized that women were going into the world of intuitive eating, which is that model where we go back to our natural state of eating, carrying their old beliefs, carrying the fact that a woman should be thin, a woman should be beautiful, a woman should be young, that fat is bad. And they were trying to change their behavior. They were applying the dieting model to becoming an intuitive eater. Or people were trying to make peace with their body image, to accept their body while maintaining the belief that fat is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? With the hope to say, well, if I accept my body, I'm bound to lose weight secretly, right in the back of my head. And then people weren't successful. And then that's when, like, looking at what the pattern of the behavior were, and those that were successful and those that were not, is the fact that people weren't changing their quote mindset. They weren't changing their core beliefs. They were vibing, as you like to say, still on the old belief. So the place to start is looking into your belief system around food, around eating, around health, around body weight. Doing the work at that level first, understanding how you were taught this. So me knowing about my 12-year-old first diet story is because I've done my work, right? Kind of trace back where it came from. I realize where it is. When I work with women, most women encountered that somewhere between the age of 10 and 20, like the teens. Mm-hmm. Right? Either through their parents putting them on a diet, through them going on a diet because they felt too big compared to their girlfriends, to their first relationship. Something happened in their teens that got them to believe that their body wasn't good enough.
You know what's a really big one are those magazines. That's what was it for me. Yeah. Those crazy magazines that just basically teach you everything you need to know about diet and weight loss culture.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. In your parental unit or your caregiver unit, were women dieting?
Yes. Yeah. My mom was on a diet for most of my upbringing.
So you got the message from the magazine, right?
Yeah.
You turn around, looked in your real life, and it was being modeled.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And then even when I was probably a freshman, all my friends started dieting and just kept on going. Like, that's just what we did. So yeah, it was from a very young age, and it was honestly just a part of life. I just thought that as a woman, you diet. That's what you do.
And this is the reality. So if you're a mother, pay attention here. Because your child will be like Sean and me. My mom dieted, and my mom hated her thighs. Guess what my most difficult part of my body to accept is?
Your thighs.
My thighs.
Yep.
Because my entire life, from like as young as I can remember my mom picking at her cellulite on her thighs. She was like commenting on her own, but that registers in your brain, right? That's what forms your core belief. So we form our core belief. Children form their core belief, not by what they read in a book or what they learn in school. It's what they're being modeled. It's the language you use with your own body. It's the language you use with food will then create their core belief. Modeling is, some psychologists say, 70% of children's learning. You could ask why they go to school. That's a whole other discussion. But modeling is how children learn. So if you're a mom and you're controlling your food in any way, shape, or form, health, diet related, your children are learning from that. If you're refusing to put a bathing suit on because you don't think your body looks good and you're picking at your own body, your children are learning from that. They're taking this external social media message, magazine images they see, they're looking in their real life and it's being done. So like, okay, good, check mark, right? That's a belief I need to carry because the people I adore the most are doing it. So that must be good. And then, like you said, you go out into the freshman years, you go to college and like your girlfriends are doing it. Well, that is for sure. Now I have to do it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so pervasive too. And it's something that it happens like we just don't even notice it. And until we actually pull back the curtain and be like, okay, actually really need to figure this out. I need to get to the root of why I'm doing this, why I feel this way about my body, why I feel this way about food, and dial it in. And then you really start coming up with all of these situations, just so much stuff comes up, but you don't think about it until you actually commit to doing the work.
Can we talk about where it's even coming from? From like, who puts those ideas into the world?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay to talk about feminism?
Yeah, please do. Absolutely.
Okay. The reason why I want to talk about this is my own work, right? I kept peeling the layer.
Yes,
like, okay,
I know. I've it. It's so like how
freaking deep do I need to go?
Yeah, it's like every 6 months, Steph pulls back a new layer of this work, and
and the world knows about it, right?
It's so great, though. It's what's needed, absolutely. So let's dive into this a little deeper.
So understanding everything we are saying, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's help my client with that. But where is this all coming from? Like, where is the belief that we need to be thin as women come from? So took out the history book. Women history is an entire field of study, by the way, in university, right? Women's study. And then realized that there is such a thing as patriarchy. Like, okay, what the heck is patriarchy, right? Patriarchy is the system under which we live right now as a society for probably the last 25 to 3,000 years, where the male is the dominating gender in a society. And everything in society is built to put the gender male in favor, in control, in power. That's what's called patriarchy. There's also the female societal system. Like if you were to come to America, well, Columbus, when he came to America, most tribal society were anchored around women being in power. But most of European country for 25 to 3,000 years have been patriarchal society. So came to colonize North America with patriarchal value, which means that society is built around men. So women are being disempowered in favor of men. There's an entire system of society that's built around that. Now, both gender are equal. There's not a gender that's better than another. So for the male patriarchy to dominate, the other gender must be suppressed. Otherwise, you would be in an equal society, right? Equal gender society. So there's an entire societal system that is built to disempower women. Now, different stages or different century over the last 2,500 years have had different method of suppressing women's power. That we think about how women were treated in religion, how women were functioning in society only to put babies into this world, right? Women were not educated. Now, over the last 100 years as a gender, as women, people identifying as women, we've taken our power back, right? We started with having the right to own land. And then we went back and got our right to political power, to vote. And we got our right to work. And then we got our right to have a bank account. Like, think about that. 30 years ago, women weren't allowed to have a bank account without a male signing for us. That's just 30 years ago.
That is crazy. That's like in my lifetime. That's insane.
Yeah. 30 years ago, me as a single woman would have had to have my dad sign my mortgage. Not because he had more money than me, because he was a man.
Wow.
All these things were put in society to control women. Body size and women's beauty has been one of the main lever that patriarchal society have played with to suppress women. Right now, we're in a cycle that women's body needs to be thin. 150 years ago, we were in a cycle that women needed to be larger. It goes with the flow. Right now, we need to be thin, and patriarchy, not men, but patriarchy, the societal system, puts on women the need to fit into this mold, right? So women are oppressed if they don't. So we are oppressed in many different ways from the size of our body. We've named a few so far, but I mean, we can talk about being denied a job because our body doesn't fit beauty value system in the organization. We can talk about women being fired. We can talk about women not getting the same medical care as other because they're not the right size according to the standards. Women being denied surgery because they're, quote, too big. So we are oppressing women with the size of their body. This is why what we're living through right now is a mean of oppression. It's a discrimination, right? So over the last I would say by now 4 months, we've had our awareness raised to the discrimination of people of color in our society, right?
Yep.
And how they're being mistreated, they're not getting the same advantage, they're being judged, like the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. Think of women's body in the exact same way. That is why the difference between a person of color and a woman, right? A person of color cannot change the color of their skin. I mean, crazy enough, 30 or 40 years ago, there was product claiming that they could, right? We've all known the Michael Jackson story, right? Sending his skin to be whiter. I mean, people don't do that no more, thank God. But women, the dieting tool is there. They're like, oh my God, like I could be shamed if I don't. Let me diet. Let me cut my body. Let me do surgery on my body so I can fit the mold and not be outcast, discriminated, marginalized. The problem is that it's acceptable. Today, discriminating upon people of color is unacceptable, most places, right? And it's becoming more and more unacceptable, but discriminating upon fat people, it's fully acceptable. It's even promoted to ostracize fat people because they're fat. So once you understand all of this, is it surprising that women feel such a shame for not fitting the mold?
Not at all. And that they would go to whatever lengths necessary to do so, just to try to fit in and to try to avoid being discriminated against, really.
Yes.
But we know that that doesn't work, that that's not the way to go. And in fact, it causes a whole lot of other issues. Really, you're just creating a big, huge case for us to just completely go against this. Like now I'm like, absolutely not. This is not going to happen anymore. We've got to put an end to this. And so I feel like, yes, diving into your history, your past, your beliefs, your stories, where all of that came from is going to be so much of the work, because then you can start seeing how it all has played out and start seeing the falsities in it, you know, and really start kind of poking holes in what you've been believing and thinking and acting this entire time, which is so important when it comes to this belief work. And I think I have to say, I feel like there's another piece to this when we're in this process, is to start kind of working on doing some things for yourself, like in the moment, like start working on building some acceptance for where you're at right now, because we can do a lot once we have a little bit more appreciation and acceptance and worth built into who we are at this moment.
Yeah. So this is a very good point. So what I found the most efficient is the way that I'm delivering this message over the last year, which is to help women understand this whole like history case, right? for them to like help and guide them understanding where they were taught that in their life, right? So they can poke hole, as you say, in it, but then to start changing their mindset right away, right? Starting to put in new thoughts in their brain, like at the beginning. So we use a model called CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, right? Where the phase one of cognitive behavior therapy is understanding why you think this way and why you act and why you feel this way. But second phase of this is to say, let me change that, right? So we practice what we call intentional thinking. So we look at, for example, if you want to talk about body image, right? So we can put a thought in our mind that I am neutral with my body, right? My body is the vehicle through which I experience life. That's a great one to start with, right? My body is the vehicle through which I experience life. We start putting that thought into your brain. We use a ladder model, meaning that one of the challenge with positive thinking, some people will say, well, that's just mantra and positive thinking. Kind of, but not, in the sense that positive thinking and mantra will get you to start practicing this new thought, right? My vehicle is the vehicle through which I experience life, but you don't believe it. And this is where the brain fights you. The brain is like, bullshit, 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 right? Too much of a stretch for your brain to anchor in and start believing. So we use a laddering system of thoughts where we start at, for an example, it's possible for other women to see their body neutrally. Your brain is like, yeah, that I believe. That like is acceptable. It's possible for others, not possible for us, but it's possible for these other people. And you start practicing this thought where it becomes neutral for you. And then you go up the ladder. For example, they could say something like, it's possible in the distant future for me to believe that my body is neutral. And you start practicing this thought, and your brain start accepting that maybe far away in the future, you're going to become body neutral. And then you keep climbing that ladder until you get to where you want to believe and the thought you want to have. That's how you change your core belief. That's how you change your mindset gradually over time. And that's how you become a person who sees their body neutrally and does not have shame for it anymore.
That's so good. That's so important. And then what do you think as far as practicing intuitive eating? Because I think it's extremely important. And I know it's something you still firmly believe in and teach. But when does that come into play here? Do we do this work first and then go into that intuitive eating, or you're like, are we still dieting while we're doing this work? Like, what are we doing?
The first place is we need to stop dieting, right? We need to stop controlling our food. We need to start second, look at our mindsets, right? Look at our core belief. And this is work, like mindset work is work over like months. Like, I don't want to be doomy loomy, but this is not like turnkey, like.
Yeah, our listeners know that. We're working on it constantly for months, probably forever, for our whole lives.
For us, we teach you the model, the structure, like the tool, like the actual how-to. And then this is months of practice, right? Once you know how to change your mindset, then you take that structure and apply it to like food. Then you apply it to your body image and you apply it everywhere. Once you understand the way to change your thought and you start practicing thought, you go into intuitive eating, because here's the key about intuitive eating. Intuitive eating reconnects you to your innate power. And sisters, we all are powerful beings. But we've suppressed our power by giving it away to diet culture. By saying, no, we're not powerful. We're so broken. You need to control me, right? What intuitive eating says, it says, fuck off, to be polite, to diet. And it says, I have the power within me how to feed myself. I have my hunger, my fullness, my satisfaction cue. Let me reconnect with them. Like, think of it as a gas, like a dial, right? 0 to 10 on your gas burner. Like right now it's at 0, 1. We need to turn the volume back on and get it to like fully bloom. And then we start with that. We start with reconnecting with your eating cues, and then start showing to yourself that you can make eating decision on your own without having the big brother over your shoulder telling you what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. That reconnects you with your power. A few weeks, months of intuitive eating, and you're like, I can do this. Not only can I not have to have big brother look over me, I can decide what I eat. But you know what? I'm starting to feel my power in other things. I'm dressing differently. I'm talking differently. I'm saying no to people. It's like, I'm becoming powerful. Right?
Is amazing. That is so amazing. So now this is what you do. This is your business. This is what you teach people on a very regular basis. Because what really has happened here, we could do two things. We could either talk for another 6 hours and maybe maybe
make a course out of this,
scratch a little bit of a surface, or people can continue on with the work that now they know they need to do with you. And you have this really amazing membership program, right? Where this is continuous help. So talk about that a little bit.
So Conquer and Thrive is a membership community that I just created from the past 4 or 5 years of work. I've taken everything that I've taught and putting into this by phases. So phase 1 is mindset. So you're conquering your mind. Phase 2, you're conquering food. And then phase 3, you're conquering life, liberation through body image healing. So you're coming to this membership in the first 3 months, you're giving how-to courses, short snippet video, worksheets. And then the cool thing about a membership site is I know that people need coaching. Like, you cannot do this work without having doubts, without having questions, without needing someone to like vent something to or ask, am I doing this right? So through technology, we were able to create a space within the site where you can access a coach to ask your question anonymously, and the coach will answer back to you one-on-one without having to hire a one-on-one coach at a higher cost. Submit your question based upon the material we're teaching you. A coach will respond to you. And then here's a cool thing. The question, because it's all anonymous, technology, gotta love technology, it's being posted and everybody can see it. So you can look at all the different questions that are being asked on a different topic and then read and watch other people being coached. And you know what? It's applicable to everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the membership sites. It's called Conquer and Thrive, and it's a fee. So it's $97 a month, and you get all the courses, the material, and we also have a private podcast.
Ooh, cool.
I know. I was able to create that.
That's really nice. Yeah, I think it's such an amazing model, because as we've said multiple times, and I think people who are doing this work know, it is continuous. It is constant. It takes a while. It's not just like do this 6-week thing and then be done. You're healed. Your mind is totally different. We've changed all your beliefs. You're good to go. It's not like that. It's continuous. And to have access to a coach and to have that consistent support is so important for this kind of work. So I'm so happy that you created this membership, and I know it's going to help so many people really take hold of this and just be liberated from the diet culture and from their own beliefs and their body image issues. Just all of that can be a thing of the past, which is so freeing. So freeing. So,
and it can be done at your own pace. And that's the other cool thing. Like, you're not having a 6-week program where you're stuck into that 6 week.
Yeah. And then you fall off for 1 week and you're like, oh, well, never mind. Then I'm
behind.
I'm just done. I can't do this. You know, it's not that kind of thing. That's so great. All right. So where can people find that?
Yes. So you can come to my website, stephaniedodier.com, and you will see Work With Me, and it's right there, Conquer and Thrive. You can also listen to my podcast, so the Beyond the Food Show, which is a podcast on iTunes. And inside the show note, there's a link, but you can get to know more about this way of engaging with food, body image, and weight by listening to the podcast. It's a good preamp before committing to really doing the work.
Yeah, it's a must listen for sure. Steph, thank you so much for your time and just such a great conversation. I know people are going to take a lot away from that. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.